Well, that was definitely a surprise. Welcome back to the Nerd Street Gamers First Strike Qualifier. And I have to say, I've been slightly blown away. Like, I came in today, I was like, okay, you know, Sentinels, best team in North America. They're going to come in here. They're going to face off against Gen.G. They've got one of the maps they're renowned for coming up first. Then they've got probably their best current map coming up second. I was like, you know what? It's probably going to be a 2-0, Ryan. Boy, I was wrong.
It's certainly gone the way of a very interesting notion, but Gen.G really have a difficult time coming up because Split is an area that Sentinels look really good. You can expect to see Sick coming back onto the Sage, which you don't really see across any of the other maps because Sage is, well, Sage at this point, let's be honest, but still has a lot of potency. Sinatra on the Raze can also provide a few more frags and a few more sort of bits of energy, but like Gen.G, man, like Sean really showed up in that game, and sort of looking at the stats real quick, Quinn was bottom fragging across the server. He didn't need to really have a high impact game. If you look at the old Gen.G, because he was the solo duelist, the solo entry playmaker, if he didn't really show up, it would be doom and gloom for Gen.G, but Sean was so impactful there. A pretty huge average combat score of over 300. But just soak it in. The damage that's been done, 180 ADR. Bear in mind that there's no abilities that do damage for Reyna. That's a kill around, essentially.
Yeah, that is getting slightly ridiculous, and he definitely was the top performer in that match. Well, you sort of say it's like a kill around. It literally was, because we only played like a much smaller sample of rounds than what we normally would, because that was so dominant. That was a 13-5, so well, anybody who can do basic math, there you go. It's only up to 18. So he really was utterly dominant. But there were some other, like, maybe, I don't even want to say unsung heroes. I think GMD had a very good game. Like the round where he managed to pull off where their economy was definitely weaker their opponents, where he uses the paranoia, manages to spray down 3 players. Hugely impressed with him. And on the other side of things, well, we definitely had some quieter performances. Like Dapper, sure, he's playing a more supportive agent, but he's never really been a supportive player. I think that's always something you have to make a bit of a distinction, is that he is someone who a lot of the time wins them a lot of openings, like normally has some pretty high clutch moments. And sure, there were a couple in the initial half, but they were few and far between because that A site just seemed to be open for business the majority of the time. Now, I came in today very confident in what we were going to see from Sentinels, and sure, this is an elimination from the tournament on the line, and realistically, they're probably going to go into the close qualifier thinking they can beat anyone anyway. But you're making your road a little bit harder, Ryan, if you do fall here to Gen.G.
Sure. I guess the way to look at it, I suppose, is teams want to try and climb up the seeding to avoid the likes of Sentinels.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you are Sentinels, you don't need to worry about that. It could mean that if they bum out and TSM do well, that we could see Sentinels TSM playing in a match to get to the finals, which would be super interesting. But it's still a long way to go. It is 3 maps, and it can be really easy to just get ahead of ourselves here, let's be honest. And this is a map the Sentinels just dominate on. If Gen.G can have a really big opening here, that could be certainly something. But you look at Sentinels and the way that they play around this, their game style seems to be suited more to this in particular. But the issue is that Sentinels need to attack first, which isn't a complete, suicide mission for them. But they are already on the back foot being 1-0 down. Now they need to attack on split.
I think as well, a lot of what they play on this map in general relies more on individuals. Like we see them the majority of the time play with just a single flash, which is going to be the paranoia of Zom. So if you're looking for openers, you're going to have to do well taking your map control, and you basically need your stars to shine. This is a map where Sinatra switches off his Sova for a very good reason. Sure, it's not that popular on the map, but also he absolutely bangs it when he switches up his agents. And he is going to start things off very, very well on the Raze. It is the first kill of the entire map, and we are underway, right?
Blocking sight.
The third map of this series would be Bind, which would be super interesting considering we've seen neither team here for months at this point. So many changes have happened since. The execute is going to come in on the side of Sentinels, though. The player's pushing through mid. Player 1, I love this position that he's in. He's trying to face even more, but literally gets face to face with Sinatra at this point. Sick, walling up, we see that a lot. He's coming through, but already damage is done before the plant is even going to come in from Sick.
Spike planted.
Making a play. Interesting, he moved over from the Sova to the Omen.
Oh, Mikhail. 14 HP. And it's going to be his counterpart to take him down. It will be the first round going the way of Sentinels. And this is what... There's a few maps where we look at them differently within EU and NA. But this one, I think, is fairly evidently gone over to the defensive side. We see a lot of stronger defensive side halves coming out on this map in general. So, realistically, that's what I'm going to be facing on. I think there's going to be a lot of aggressive plays into mid that we can expect to come out from the Sentinels here. And investing into this round, Zoms be the only one to manage to get the Phantom. Obviously, Shazam looking to try and save up as much credits as humanly possible. And what, the defense, as well as I know as well, that if mid's going to be a high point of contention, that's where you send your stack.
One player remaining.
Turned into a deathmatch server there for a second, but such is the impact of Sentinels on attack. It is 2 very early rounds. Now the big buys are going to come in. The economy is going to be more than okay for Sentinels at this point. Pretty much won the last 2 rounds. Not flawlessly, but without very little casualties at least. They almost have a showstopper available to go for Sinatra, so maybe some pressure being made to try and grab that orb, execute onto the site. The spike is over there, and Spike, much like before, would be the planter of the spike onto a site to get the ult charges. We'll do something similar with a Sage to get resurrect up as much as possible.
Ready? Shazam to get the opener. Player 1 gaining some information. I don't think they expected him to be. He just didn't check properly. But it is only going to be a trade. You mentioned the showstopper, and here it goes. And trying to clear out the whole site, but missed. Player has managed to sneak through the background. This is something they desperately need to clear. And player 1 doing his survivalist role almost perfectly. He does, however, have to be very careful. A lot of pressure coming in onto his position, but he drops the spike. And still with a player at the back of the site, he should really be coming under more pressure, but I guess it's just Sit kind of relying on the fact that they don't check him at this point to maybe steal a kill or 2, and he eventually gets it through. At the same time, though, he is still stuck in this corner. The spike, in the meantime, has gone rotating all the way back around. Now, could realistically make a play in towards the A site. That might be easier said than done, although I think it's going to be his only choice at this point. It still seems like Dapper, however, is looking for that clutch, wanting to try and pick the 2 different players, and may not even realize that his opponent is sat in the corner. He's going to spot him out. He even tags him at the end, even though he sat right behind him. And Gen.G, it's close, but they do get their first round.
Similar themes and stuff happening. Certainly when it comes to Ascent, just they have the plays, but Gen.G kind of expect these certain executes to come out, so they play around it. Expected an aggressive push to come out of Sentinels with the Sage Wall and the Showstopper on B. So player 1 just hid in an angle that it would take them so long to check, the ultimate wouldn't be available. It's just Gen.G have done their research and have anti-strats all up the wazoo at this point for Sentinels. Luckily, Sentinels still have money, still going to be able to buy for this round. And you would expect at this point so much space to be taken from the Raze and Cypher on this attack. Player 1 already put on the back foot when it comes to the pressure, and there's more even happening in mid.
Something I learned from the matches yesterday is that Hwin doesn't often have 2 quieter games. It's a rarity. This is a map, sorry, that really does work well for aggressive Jet players. Now, the spike's already dropped. That's so much information to Gen.G. It's going to be Zoms looking to try and retrieve it, and actually, he gets away with a kill. I didn't even think they'd trade him, but eventually, they come back through, and win. Timing could be perfect, but then again, Sinatra expecting somebody to be watching the edge of the smoke, and GMD will close the round.
I mean, there was somebody there. It was just unlucky timing at that point. Save has to come in from the attackers. Late Storm is available, and Shazam likes to use this ultimate more so when he's saving or half buying rather than on a full buy, because of course he can make the most out of it there. GMD with the Rolling Thunder is going to play the back of the A site, which is looking to be hit from Sentinels here. They do this super quickly, similar to how Androx push with the double blast pack, putting a lot of pressure on ramp very early with the Raze, dashing in with the Jet. Would expect to see something similar, but of course without the lack of guns, might not be as strong.
That fault line has denied a lot of players, but it didn't quite stop Shazam. It doesn't matter though. GMD is still going to get the opening nonetheless. And in fact, the attacking side have almost been completely halted. They're stuck back towards heaven. A one-way smoke giving at least a little bit, but well, maybe not so much of a one-way after all. Sinatra finds a kill with the stinger. However, it doesn't seem to matter. A nigh-on flawless round with only one loss for Gen.G. And this is the thing that really does interest me, because obviously we haven't seen their split with this current roster. And as you mentioned earlier, we have seen a few agent chains coming in for them, but this really has been an almost complete change in what we've seen them play previously. Obviously, Mikhail, I think the last time they played was actually on a Phoenix. That's not the case anymore. GMD, he was on a Reyna. Obviously, then Effie's was on the Omen. So they've just opted to switch like multiple different players just for this map, especially even in comparison to other maps where GMD is the one playing Omen. So something that there's no way Sentinels could have ever been prepared for, that's for sure. The question is their standard enough to beat out Gen.G, which, let's be real, versus most teams, it's definitely enough.
Early pressure put in from Sentinels and Sinatra. This aftershock could actually get quite a lot with all of the smokes here and all of the stunts. It could have easily cut out Sinatra, but player one, he's been amazing so far, anchoring both the A and B sites. Mikhail is still on the ground.
You will not kill my
The Resurrect is going to come through, but Mikhail has been there waiting. Two of the easiest frags that he'll be able to have. Gen.G have just done such a good job passively picking their fights, and now it's all up for Dapper to clutch in this 1 versus 2. Is capable, he has his ultimate, gets one kill, uses it, finds out where the other one is, can make a play, but Gen.G's movement is just so clutch here.
That could be all the information he needs. The possibility of 2 individual fights. But I like this from Gen.G. They are not peeking whatsoever. Just waiting patiently.
30 seconds
even
left.
With the plant going down,
planted.
they're happy to just wait. They're going to wait until they basically meet up, fight this one together. Push going to be coming in from Quinn. He spots out his opponent, but at the same time, he doesn't actually have a gun, so he needs to try and bait for it. And Dapper lines them both up. 2 instant headshots. I said he had a little bit of a quieter map in the last and is known for his individual skill. Well, that's a clutch to bring things home for the Sentinels.
A little bit of luck, them lining up like that, but just the way that he played around it, it was pure skill. Dapper is just so good in clutches, though. And certainly going into this game, I was comparing him and Player One. Player One used to play the Omen and Brimstone for Gen.G, played 2,000 official rounds in the game, has 300 on Cypher. There's still a lot to learn comparing him to Dapper, who has been playing Cypher since day one. And Player One is top frag. He's having the game of his life so far. It would be perfect right now. Win just whiffs the shot, though. Sinatra's going to keep on pushing, but Sean actually is going to help and rescue. All Win is doing is just putting a little bit of pressure in here, but so much utility is thrown, and just look at the way that Gen.G are holding this. Not only surviving Sentinels' real sharp aggression, but getting a frag too.
Win eventually. You give him a couple of opportunities. Well, let's slip away. One thing I will mention, I'm pretty sure the maps thing is now wrong, right? Because Gen.G are 9-0, but shouldn't Sentinels have lost 2? Just a tip. Add that in for someone pedantic. To maybe to. Well, no, because it's maps. It's not matches. It's maps.
Oh, I know.
Wait, good position from Mikhail. He is going to spray things down. There we go. Look, they just updated it. I was right. Roms.
Thanks, Dead Street Gamers.
1v4.
30 seconds
very
left.
quick production. I'll give them the credit where it's due. That was lightning fast. In fact, people hearing me say it might not have even seen it by the time they fixed it. So there you go.
I didn't notice it. Really, is it too much to talk about? Zoms is just going to save this gun. The spike is well over in A, watched by 3 different people in 3 different angles. However,
10 seconds left.
Could maybe catch out Zoms here, and even now the economy. It's just a game of where they could just keep hurting Sentinels for their money. Hit them where it hurts. Another round for Gen.G to maintain a lead. Sentinels trading rounds in the best ways at least, but still a long way to go. More ultimates coming online. Sean is ready to go with the showstopper. Much quieter start to split than certainly was on Ascent. But there's still plenty to work with. Sinatra yet again almost almost good to go with a showstopper. A lot of pressure going towards A. They might execute, they might just try and play a bit more slowly, but that's the great thing about playing Raze, just a double blast pack. You could be by A screens within a couple of seconds. The breach is there, though, to make sure that that just doesn't happen.
Feeling confident off the back of the operator. Willing to fight this many a time. He's not quite got back around the corner. And that wall is something that is very wallbangable. You are not safe hiding in mid. That's a hell of a lot of damage though. And unfortunately for him, the Sage is on the other side. So there will be no healing coming through for the defense of Gen.G. Actually, the attacking side are more than happy just gaining early map control. In fact, we're actually going to see the push coming all the way through. However, I do wonder if they're just going to use this tripwire as a fake. They've broken that. That's Shazam. Now, this is something a lot of teams will do regularly. You break that, and then you go back towards the B side. The thing is, though, it doesn't seem like the defense have fallen this whatsoever. However, it's a lot onto Sean, and he gets absolutely nothing. Bear in mind that his teammate, in the form of Quinn, was already very, very low. So he could not fight this at all. It will be an afterplan.
And player one's still got his utility set up. It will break now. The retake's going to commit, and the Gen.G seem quite happy to do. Quinn actually gets a kill. He's been whipping his shots all throughout the round, but he's able to get such a key frag. Sick is on the side of the blast. There isn't too much to really work with. Blast alive. Straightforward. Gen.G just know how to pick their fights and how to go about it. 5-3 was pretty much a half buy at most for Sentinels, but now at least Sinatra's good to go with that showstopper. But I'd like to see them play around these ultimates a bit more. It's typically what you expect out of Sentinels, the right kind of rolling thunder, the right kind of entry into a site. Showstopper is perfect for that, but it seems that Sentinels can't really string it all together in the way that we usually expect from them, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on this map that they are currently on the attacking side, and I think it is one of, if not the toughest side of any map to play currently within the pool. So
definitely
to see them even grind out like 5 rounds here would still be a pretty decent scoreline going into the second half. Although they did win the pistol, which take it as you will. However, I'm sure after going 3-3, they wouldn't be too happy with that one. Once again, we're going to see Hwin fighting for mid. I am liking this sort of double duo of him and Sean. It's a terrifying prospect if they both manage to hit their stride going forward, and then the rest of the team almost just acting as supportive elements trying to slow everybody down. That is a fantastic paranoia, though. However, Sean has just gone, go on then, come up here. I dare you. I dare you. It doesn't mean anything for the ultimate, but it has at least made sure that his teammate survives.
It's a really nice set play.
Here.
They've walled off ropes at least on mid, so they want to push as soon as possible because the rotation is coming in from Gen.G. Now this is going to be Sinatra. He gets hit by Hwin before the rocket gets fired off. Hwin misses so many shots, but always hits the ones that he really needs to hit. This is so good from him. Sean has a really nice position. Hwin even better though. The rocket taking his fights, and it's just
30
Zoms
seconds
in this
left.
corner, just staring how that spike never might get to the side. What play from Hwin there?
That is so ballsy. Like, I think like 9 out of 10 players in that situation just go, good luck, Sean. I'm going to see you later. I'm going to go on the rotation back around. And he's like, don't worry, bro. I've got this. Takes the aggressive peek. What a sick shot as well, because that's it. That's all or nothing. If he misses that shot, we know for a fact that Sinatra is just going to wreck him with the ultimate as well. The showstopper will not show any mercy in this case, but ultimately that just completely floors the round for them. The rest of the team get wrecked on their cross through, and sort of mentioned it earlier that the investment into a single flash, it's really, really reliant on your openers playing well. And thus far, they've been a little bit quiet. Again, it's this man on the defensive side. It's Hwin to kick things off. Sure, this round, slightly less invested, but if he's feeling it with an operator, that is a truly terrifying prospect. Because as said in the last, it's rare that he has 2 quiet maps. And while he wasn't exactly carrying them in the last one. I think we can give that one down to Sean as playing really well alongside GMD, but realistically, this map, he has been finding them opener after opener. Player one has been... Well, actually, it's been the rotation of both Mikhail and Player one between the two different sites that we've seen them constantly switching up their defensive setup. So one round it will be Mikhail on B, then he'll be on A, and vice versa. Like it's quite impressive to see them make it so successful as well, constantly having all their utility in different places.
Yes, this should do.
Get out of my way!
Storm is going to come out on the side of Shazam, and he gets a frag opening onto Quinn. It's nice play, and this is the fast execute that you love to see. And this would be the second plant that's coming from Sentinels so far. But they've only managed to get that spike planted twice in 10 rounds now. 11th round this one. Sinatra's created so much space for himself, has no utility left though, and is about to face the two people that are pushing. Can't even get one frag. Player one is just
everyone hiding
on an absolute winning streak with these fights. No effect is going to show up exactly where this first plant is going to be held from Sentinel, so they might need to change up their positioning. GMD getting that first frag and flashing onto the site, and opening this come in, but look at 6th positioning. He's not going to be beaten out by it. The blast pack is actually super good from Sean just to avoid that, and even gets a pick up to Shazam. Mikhail was killed into the high ground. Six trying to heal, but he's taking damage. GMD works on through. It's just... What a round.
What a sick retake as well. Like, because that round looked like one that was basically over, Ryan, at least in the initial stages of it. That was an early entry, a 5-on-4, an after plant situation, and, well, just as it's hard to get into the sites, it's very hard to retake them as well. The only thing I will say, which I'm just being a bit pedantic, but obviously Sinatra's aggression there, you kind of have to feel like if you hold on to that 5v4, you probably have a better scenario. Now, in most cases, he probably does get a kill, but this is the time he doesn't, and this is the time that potentially they lose the round because of it.
Here.
More spread across the map at this point, a Sentinel.
Get out of my way!
Resurrect is good to go on the attack too. They might play a bit more aggressively with this raise as they're peeking towards, but player one has been so hard to move no matter what site he's played on, and he's switched around quite a bit. When he's in mids, hasn't quite spotted the player that's with him. Shazam is in that corner, peeks up, but again, clinical. Sinatra's broken his way onto the B site. Tripwire has been broken by the boom ball. The punch should go in. Sean's going to get some damage in, but mostly gets hit himself at this point. It's a 4 versus 4 retake. The Rolling Thunder is going to come through. It's much more aggressive at the side of Gen.G. Mikhail's the first to get the frag onto this retake, clearing as many angles as possible. But Sentinels are completely spread out.
You will not kill my ally.
I need to get the resin, but I don't think it matters. They've got the defuse almost all the way already. And I'm actually blown away with how impressive some of these retakes have been from Gen.G. They've taken a 9-3 half after losing the pistol in second round. So for anybody who can't do the math there, they lost 1 round in the entirety of the buys. Now we do have some replays from the half, which will be coming up, of course, brought to you by GoPuff. And you can get a cheeky little discount if you are going to be using the code NerdStreet. So make sure you do that. You know, it supports NerdStreet, and you get a discount on food. So I don't really see where there's a loss in there. But nonetheless, this is what I mean. This was what, 3-2. This was a position where we kind of look. No, in fact, it was 3-3. Yeah, because there was the clutch that came out from Dapper. From then onwards, they didn't win another round. And a lot of it came down to this man, Win, having a phenomenal half. But I think a lot of it came down to those last couple of retakes. And both of them started with Sentinels having a man advantage.
Can you imagine with all of the beef between Sentinels and TSM, neither of them actually going through? At least they're both qualified for the closed tournament, but it would just be funny that they wouldn't get this far in the open bracket. It's more of a bloodbath on here. Sentinels are defended, but Gen.G could go 10-3 up here. It's a 3 versus 2. Police Sniper is still alive, just trying to spray with a frenzy, just to catch anything. It's so important on these pistols to at least chip away this armor that they might have, or just do as much damage as they possibly can. And this retake position, this post plant, isn't ideal from Gen.G, who are mostly still stuck on the site, other than player one, who wants to try and wrap around to the high ground, but there is going to be a wall there to stop one. In that time, Dapper's got the first kill. He's got to try and run all the way to the site to stop him, but Sinatra knows that he's coming, even puts the grenade in the right position. Much better from Sentinels, but still iffy because Gen.G can still do quite a lot of damage to them.
I love explosions.
Yeah, if anything, I think Gen.G probably should have won that round. Like that was a 2v3 retake where Sinatra just happens to get a triple kill. Like, great retake from the remaining two players, and finally starting to see some of the stars step up on this Sentinels roster. And this is the weird thing. Like, we go onto a map where you definitely can pull out a ridiculous amount of defensive rounds. It's not beyond possibility. I'm still just waiting for that moment where Sentinels sort of step up. Because I was expecting it in the last map. There were probably some people going, well, this guy's kind of hyping up Sentinels a bit. They're the best team in North America, or were, when they sort of left after all the Ignition Series events. Now, well, it's looking like they're struggling a little bit here. And again, we're going to see an aggressive push onto the side. Nappa only has a pistol, and so does Quinn. But this is where the slaughter begins.
One player remaining.
KO only going to be able to get one. I'm sure it's a little bit of extra damage, but ultimately there wasn't a huge amount invested into that round from the Sentinels. So I do wonder if we're going to see them invest a little bit more into this one. And in fact, straight away, Shazam is onto his operator. And I'm hoping we see a bit more from him. Something else, just a note. Dapper got 4 of his kills in 1 round, and he is on 5.
Oh, this is a nice spot.
Yikes.
That goes there.
Did a good job there. Gen.G's life will live in hell to try and execute onto the site. The operator that you mentioned is over on A. There is a bit of presence. Player 1's probably going to lurk in this position, but for the fact that the spike is towards B, I would expect that's the general direction that Gen.G want to go. A lot of teams will push through mid with the spike just to make sure that that rotation doesn't take too long, and if they do die, they don't need to try and pick it up from some of the extremities. But early pressure from Gen.G, really patient play, and considering how heavy their executes were on Ascent on their attack, this is where I'm concerned about them a little bit. Granted, they are 9-5 up, but when they don't necessarily have a game plan and they just want to sort of riff and see what they could do, I think this is an area the Sentinels can certainly beat them to it.
Come to expect a lot, that's for sure. Going to need to see some of the stars of the Sentinels arise to the occasion. Sure, it's for seeding, but it's important seeding at that. Sinatra just jiggle peeking, looking for information, has his paint shell in hand, and will look to just do some damage as they push through. In fact, goes for the wide peek afterwards, and, well, Mikhail will just about escape with his life. He's looking to try and sneak his way through. Shazam, he's going to go down.
30 seconds
This
left.
could be a big problem. Now he has the paranoia going into the back of the site, looking to let his team lead the way
player
through.
remaining.
It's a bit of a whiff, but eventually Quinn will get things over the line. It's left onto Zoms, and he has no choice. He's just got to save that operator. It's something that
Spike
needs to
planted.
be brought into the next round. And honestly, I have no idea how Mikhail survives this round. Like, that's the biggest thing for me, Ryan. How is he alive right now with what he just attempted?
Facing up against Sinatra and Shazam, and both just can't get those kills. They just look so low on confidence at the moment, and you would expect those two players to be clicking the heads of everybody that they need to beat out. So Gen.G 10-5 up. I imagine that the money for Sentinels is not going to be great. They do have that operator that Zoms is going to keep a hold of. They do have a showstopper to break onto a site very quickly in case the money is that bad. But this is so comfortable from Gen.G. Like, I keep mentioning it, but I'm so impressed with even how different they look from the Renegades Nerd Street Gamers tournament last weekend. They went out to Moon Raccoons and just looked so uninspired, so slow. It just wasn't very good to look at. You would expect a good amount from Gen.G. They've always been the top 10 team for sure, but the difference between then and now is exceptional.
Well, just to add to this as well, for anybody who's wondering, this is not double elimination. There's no second lives, other than I guess you could call the closed qualifier. We'll be out of this open bracket at least with a top 8 seeding, but not what we've come to expect from Sentinel. Staffer about to come under pressure. His cam left blind, and now he's being pushed. Sinatra looking to try and support him. Going to try and use the showstopper, but it's to no prevail. Doesn't get anything done whatsoever. And in the meantime, the attackers have managed to get control of the site, although it's definitely not ideal. A little bit close from the boom bomb, but in fact, 6 falls. The trade coming back to the bar. Shazam needs to do something with this operator, and it's going to be GMD to put things firmly in the favor of Gen.G. Another round on the board. Sentinels. I'm going to be honest. Like, I think it's got to the point where I've been believing all the way through. I've been sat there, Ryan, going like, this will be the moment, right? Now they'll step up. Okay, sure, you've been kidding me this whole time, Sentinels. I'm ready now. Now you're going to perform. I think they're out.
Could be looking to go to match point at least. Look at that buy for Sentinels. It's not good. They don't have many ultimates other than a Resurrect and a Neural Theft, maybe. Shazam maybe wants to grab an ult orb to get a Blade Storm out because he's just running with a Frenzy at the moment. And even though Gen.G have a pretty hefty lead, their economy isn't ideal either. If they lose this round, they might have to save, but the Rolling Thunder is going to be used on this attack. Create Gen.G a little bit of space, but Sinatra's angle's good. He's let one go. Now he's got to do some damage in, but can only get 1. If he had a bigger gun, that's easily 2 kills. Sean has done more damage in that sense because now it's a 4 versus 3. The spike is going to get planted. Gen.G been so much better at this than Sentinels were in their attack. Such a pivotal Sentinels retake that they just need to go for.
Managed to gain a little bit of ground and 2 quick kills come in for them. Presence of Damper makes this more than possible, and somehow it's now left all onto player 1. Surely there's no way he brings this back. A lifeline for the Sentinels. They found a round out of very little. Zombs getting 3 kills definitely helped them along the way. And they desperately needed a round like that, Ryan.
Could be the start of something good with any luck, but I mentioned that Gen.G wouldn't have the best buy. They can still kind of afford, but Sean is going to be running a Stinger, which is fine because he has the Showstopper, might just blast back into somebody's face, sting at them, or rocket launch them, pick up their gun and go with that. They are going to put a lot of pressure towards mid more than the A or B mains. And they might even line up. Yeah, like, look at the Omen on the attack. Paranoia lineup is good, but I think Sentinels are kind of aware that that's a play that they can easily do. They're just playing on the sites completely. Not good for main at all. Sinatra's angle's good, but they just know that he's going to be there. Sinatra.
See you later. Sinatra's out, and now it's left onto the sole defender of Dapper to try and hold the line. He started off strong with 10 HP, and actually, he's still going. Another kill for him. Shazam even chiming in as well. It comes down to a 2 versus 1. Zoms to stop them hitting 12, stop them hitting map point. And he's in a pretty good position. He's still got his Paranoia available. A little bit of dark cover wouldn't go amiss. And there goes the Paranoia. The peek comes out straight away from player 1, though. He's not going to allow for any Omen funny business. Gen.G, they hit map and series point. It has to be a 6-round streak from Sentinels, Ryan, just to stay in this series.
The round felt so weird from Sentinels. I understand, you know, don't fight on mid, don't fight on heaven. They have a showstopper. Just let them use all of that utility to get to a site, and then we'll deal with it. And then Sinatra kind of goes on his own, just is tentative about pushing, gets caught out in the smoke. It's more unfortunate than anything, but it just shows how indecisive Sentinels are in some cases. Going to be pushing a lot more on mid this time, but this execute's going to be electric from Gen.G. Shazam is flashed, and he is going to be hunted down with that ult. Zoms just doesn't take his shots at all there. Should at least get the frag. Sean's up in his up.
It is done. Sinatra, 1 versus 5 to keep them in this open bracket. They will be back for the closed one, but for now the door is closed on Sentinel. It is Gen.G, a swift 2-0. 11 rounds is all they get over 2 maps. I genuinely can't believe it. I know there's some geniuses in chat who are going to be sat there going, man, I saw this coming. I knew this from the very get-go. I knew Gen.G were going to win this. In fact, I think Vansili said that, as we were talking earlier, so he's probably having an absolute field day. But yeah, I guess all I can say is Gen.G fans, TSM fans, rejoice.
Rejoice, you can enjoy this. But if you are a Sentinels fan, you don't need to panic. You don't need to rip up your hoodies or whatever. You're still in the closed qualifier that is in a couple of weeks. But it means that you're not going to have the best of seeding, which, to be honest, is fine for Sentinels. You could argue that maybe had in some strats potentially, but that just didn't look like the Sentinels we expect. Granted, we haven't seen too much of them since Pop Flash. That was like the last major tournament that they were involved in, which was well over 6 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
I just don't really know what to say. I kind of feel like that was so more disappointing than I've ever seen a team play, to be honest. Sentinels, you just don't expect that from them. Gen.G, I mean, what can I say? They looked amazing.
Well, I guess the way you can look at it is what they did last time when they went in to win one of their first sort of tournaments, was that they kind of went into it, lost the game, and then went back. Either way, we do have some replays, and of course, guys, this is brought to you by GoPuff, the official delivery partner of Nerd Street Gamers. You can use the promo code NerdStreet when you sign up, and you will get yourself $4 off of your first 4 orders. So GoPuff ordered in seconds, but it will be delivered in minutes, just like this wonderful replay, which I hope is only lagging for me.
One enemy remaining. 30 seconds.
It's just kind of like Gen.G in this tournament. Just took a couple of seconds to get going. And even that round there, you know, like Sean on Split did decently, and he's a great addition. But I've got to say, that supporting backbone of Gen.G, Player 1, GMD, at this point, Mikael, it's so much of an improvement. I was worried with Sean and Win that they would just be the ones carrying and they would have to carry these other 3 players. They just played so well as a unit. The big complaint with Sean is that he played too much on his own, that it was just Gen.G plus Sean on the other side of the universe just pushing B main at that point. They came together so well today, and Sentinels just didn't have an option against them.
Yeah, I definitely, like, I want to give a lot of credit to Gen.G, but I think there has to be a look at Sentinels as well and just go, they haven't shown up today. Like, even on an individual level, we saw a lot of their players go missing. As said, there was that clutch, I think that was just after this, that came out from Dapper, where he ends up getting 4 kills in the round, and then he only got one kill for the rest of the half. And he's normally someone that you can really rely on. Now, sure, he had a couple of other moments like this one where things were brought back slightly, but even on an individual level, it didn't really look like the Sentinels showed up today, and Gen.G just ran over them. And we saw some like fantastic individual brilliance from them, but also what was some decent tactical depth. And bear in mind, like, we literally, let's go ahead and say this. 10 days ago, Sean was beating them in another tournament playing for a different team. So to come into this tournament after what can be, maximum a week's practice, and just bang out Sentinels like it was absolutely nothing. Sure, on one hand, maybe it's a honeymoon period. Maybe we're going, they've hit their stride together for this tournament. Maybe it won't be the same later on. Or it's the other side of the coin where this is them just getting started. If that's the case, sky's the limit.
It's a 200 IQ pickup for Gen.G. It just seemed to fix a lot of the problems that they've had since April, May, like since they were put together. They are one of the oldest teams, organizations within Valorant, and ever since then they have dipped. Their performances have been less than stellar at this point, but they've shown up certainly, and just soak it in, honestly. To be fair, I feel like Shazam on Ascent had a decent showing with a good sort of scoreline, but both him and Sinatra, much less than expected. Gen.G just seemed to dominate in every sense of it. It's just weird to see how off Sentinels was. It's just so bizarre to me because they seem to always have a really solid game plan and seem to be really good at improvising. They had neither today.
Yeah, I as said, I want to give like big credit to Gen.G for coming into this tournament and looking fantastic in this match, especially after yesterday, where in their first map especially, I think they were making a fair few mistakes and only actually won Haven because of some crazy clutches from Sean. Now, today, there was no doubt who was the better side, and I have to be honest, like, I didn't expect them to win this game. I, in fact, predicted that it would be a 2-0 to Sentinels. I'm very, very happy to sit here and eat my words. At the same time, I don't think anybody predicted them to come in and be this dominant. And if they did, wow, that's a 200 IQ play that I never saw coming, because even if you have a huge amount of faith in all the individual players on this team, as a whole, it's a very new 5. Like Sean's just being slotted in. He's switched over from what was ultimately his main agent of Sova, because that's something that's already played by other players within the roster. So to go straight in, play a different agent and be as good as he has, phenomenal. And then in the second map, well, as a whole, they completely blew us away. Now, obviously, Ryan, for TSM fans, this has been a real blast. And luckily for them, it might just continue. Because after what will be, hopefully, a relatively short break, we are going to be coming back with them facing off against the 100 Thieves.
Yeah, and that should be an absolute blast of a match. I was expecting this one certainly to be closer. The one thing I do want to say about Gen.G, though, as a team is when things start to go wrong for them, it seems to really fall down around them. And that's certainly an area that could be exploited in the future. It could be that honeymoon period, like you mentioned, that going into future teams is a lot more real on how they play. They can get anti-stratted hard, much like Sentinels were here, to be honest. But it's going to be a similar case here. TSM have been a top team for a long time. 100 Thieves have, to be honest, been memed on with their new additions because of the amount of money that they've spent to bring in some of the best Counter-Strike players across with. But you got to say, 100 Thieves do look good. That is going to be a hell of a matchup. And I'm excited to see what the likes of these guys can do. Because, yeah, 100 Thieves have been on the tear right now. Hiko's been clutching like crazy. How does you like that chat versus he doesn't miss? How is that going to pair up when it comes to... Yeah. What can I say? It's going to be hell on earth, but it's going to be fun.
It seems like Ryan's already joined you in the chat, so I'm going to give him a little bit of a chance to do that, maybe spam with you guys for a little bit. But I believe, as said, we should be heading off to a break for a little bit, and then we will be back with TSM facing off against 100 Thieves.